Hello everyone, I'm Ron Grant coming to you live and direct from Tortola in the Virgin Islands. You're watching 284 Media. Thank you so much for your time. Journey to Elections 2023. You're watching Just for the Record. Today I'm joined by 8th District candidate under the Virgin Islands Party umbrella, L. Alan Wheatley. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
There are many ways to enjoy life, like so many ways to count on popular.
Rashford made it. Manchester United have come from behind to lead.
At home or on the go, watch CCT Live. Download our app and carry your favorite TV shows, news, or live sports anywhere you go. Visit cctbvi.com/live, select your package, and tune in.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Hello everyone, welcome back. You're watching Just for the Record. As promised, I'm today joined by L. Alan Wheatley, the 8th District candidate under the VIP umbrella in the upcoming general elections. Mr. Wheatley, thank you for your time and welcome to our platform.
Thank you for having me, Ron.
Now, you are an 8th District candidate, as I said, under the Virgin Islands Party umbrella. Before we get into that, for the persons who may not know, who is Alan Wheatley?
Well, Alan Wheatley is the son of Charles and Jenny Wheatley, well-known educators in the BVI for well over now 60 years, I'm sure. Started when they were youngsters, actually maybe higher than that. Father of 6, married to Jacinth Hannibal, former financial secretary, former Social Security Board financial controller, and a host of other accolades I could refer to. But I will leave it at that for now.
Sounds like quite a bit. When we do our research and we canvass the community and we ask persons to give their thoughts on some of the candidates, just for the record, persons have said a few things as it pertains to you and your candidacy. Alan is by far one of the most brilliant people we know. There are others who think that you are aggressive, sometimes a bit too spontaneous. When you hear the word aggressive, as someone who would describe you as that, what are your thoughts when it comes to that particular adjective?
Well, what happens is that in the line of work that I do, which is finance, you have to be aggressive. It's the nature of how you actually execute what you have to do. You can't be a consultant, financial consultant. You can't trade stocks and bonds and be timid.
Okay.
You have to believe in yourself. You have to go for it. Even sometimes if you miss it, you have to learn from your mistakes and move forward. So I believe in myself, and I sometimes have an intensity about myself.
Would you say that you're emotional?
Yeah, I take things seriously. I try not to show emotion, but things do affect me, and I drive off of emotion. I have 2 modes. If you happen to know me, I have 2 modes.
Which are?
Engage and disengage.
Okay.
I don't have a middle ground, and that's probably one of my difficult things is to find that middle ground where you just simply say it's a calm area. I just go and more go, and if I commit to the end. I see it to the end.
Okay. They also said that you are a street man. When you hear that term, what are your thoughts?
I don't know what you call a street man. I'm a regular man.
Okay.
That's
That's the terminology.
I guess what they're talking about is that I hang out anywhere. Okay. I have no problems being on the block East End. I have no problems going through the ghetto here in the 4th District, up on the Stickit and Long Loop. I walk through them. Everybody knows me. I know them. They knew me when I was FS. I had no problem walking through those places with a jacket on or without a jacket. It really didn't make a difference to me. But I grew up like everybody else in East End. I went to East End school. I went to the BVI High School. I never went to private school. I went to East End Methodist Church. So I'm a regular kind of person. Okay. And I think what happens a lot of times, people take the fact that I have a degree, I have these high-powered jobs, that I'm supposed to act a certain way, step up a certain way, I guess, be full of myself and think I've arrived. And being around my people, my boys them on the street, keeps me humble, keeps me in the game, keeps me focused. So I hang out there, I'm comfortable. They're actually more comfortable through regular people on the street and in the neighborhood than I am with persons of affluence, let's say.
Okay.
You know, that's not my style, that's not my cup of tea.
Okay.
No?
All right. You mentioned a bit briefly about some of your positions and jobs that you've held. I want to go into a little bit more detail in that. What do you do at this present moment?
Right now, I'm a financial consultant. I do have a number of clients in Europe, some in as far as the Far East and Hong Kong. I have clients as far west as LA, and I serve as a conduit for a number of different activities, transactions, and the stuff that they want to do. Cutting it short, that's basically do a lot of investment management, business consulting, financial advice, that kind of thing. And I own other companies. I have a company in Biogerm Solutions. I do mold remediation. I'm certified in the US to do that. I'm also owner of Wheatley Educational Center, which is formerly National Educational Services, which, by the way, is going to be back definitely by the end of this month or the next month.
I think the people will be happy to know that.
Yeah, they're complaining about some prices, so they said I need to regulate that. So actually, it's going to be right across from the high school. Okay. Right up from where we are right now, where the I don't want to say the area.
Tax authority.
Right next to the tax authority building. That's where it's going to be. That's actually my offices as well for the financial consulting. I own 2 restaurants, 2 trade licenses for restaurants. Mexican Fiesta, that is going to open by the middle of next month on a Pier Park in a kiosk. And I have a branch in East End. And I also have a trade license for Surfers Paradise. And that currently operates out of the Valley in Virgin Gorda on the beach. Okay. And I have a few other companies, but we'll go into all that.
So
by the way, I actually am quite involved with alternate energy. I should mention that. And I have a number of business relationships, including waste to energy and solar paving systems for alternate energy, as well as traditional solar alternatives.
My research also tells me that you are a horn player and also a former Olympian, if you put it that way. Once an Olympian, always an Olympian. Tell me about those two. And is that true?
It is true. Let's start with the whole scenario with the trumpet. I started playing trumpet in high school, 1979. I've continued to play ever since. I don't know how many years that is. It sounds like over 40. Okay. I still own my original trumpet that I got in 1981. So that's as well over 40 years old. And I was part of the group that went to Interlaken. Myself, Clement Vanterpool, and Arthur Selwood were the 3 students to go to Interlaken. And there's a tradition of that helping to build a band in the 80s. And the band was quite popular. Okay. We were to nearly every function, including every time the governor had his function in McNamara as well as Virgin Gorda. So I've been sitting down with the governor on the boat talking and didn't even realize that he was really a man of power like that. I knew who he was, but he was regular to me, talking, going up and coming back down. I said that to say we've been doing that. I did that in high school. I was band leader in my senior year and section leader for the trumpets. I also started the Trumpeters, a group that now plays for a lot of different occasions. We have a lot of funerals, actually. And it's very comforting to a lot of people to have the trumpets play, especially when the casket is closing. They request special songs and stuff. And the group, emanated out of high school. We just call up the guys and say, hey guys, I think there's a need for our services, pro bono, no cost, and been well received. We've been all over the PVI playing for all sort of funerals. And like I said, it's a good feeling when you could give back. In terms of an Olympian, I spent all my years in high school, some in primary school, yes, definitely high school, in House One. I ran track for the 5 years I was in high school. I ended up being division champion in my fourth farm years. I was undefeated in long jump in high school, had high school long jump records. I was a long jumper, 100, 200, 400 runner, basically a sprinter. One time I was national champion representing the BVI. That's how I ended up being the Olympian. I went to the Junior Olympics in 1986 in Athens, Greece with Alpheus Potter. At that time, I was also at the University of Houston, and I was part of their track team that Carl Lewis was on. So when Carl Lewis was breaking all those world records, I was part of the team.
Wonderful.
So I've been around the best of the best and had
And doing quite a bit.
yeah, one thing, when you were on a track team with Carl Lewis, you had to run. So I did well enough for myself, I think, representing the BVI.
Wonderful. You spoke also earlier about some of the roles that you had, and the main one that keeps popping up would be the financial secretary.
Right.
That is perhaps, if not one of the most, some would use the word powerful or impactful or influential roles when it comes to the civil service. Your name has been quite synonymous, because even with that post, we would all know based on research that you served time, criminal time. I want to talk about that, because there are some persons who feel that because of that history, you should not perhaps be running for office. Before we get into that, what was the sentence for, and how long was your sentence? Stay tuned for more Just for the Record right after this.
Yo, everything good, Dad?
Aye. This thing got me one way, Daddy.
What do you mean?
Ever since I hook up with this thing, can't eat, I can't sleep. This is the first thing I touch it when I reach home.
What you really? Hey, this ain't like you,
Dad, this thing got me staying home, keeping out of trouble me.
Wow. What your name is?
Shit. I talking about my CCT life.
Don't worry about missing your favorite series, sports, news, and local programming. Come to CCT today and sign up for CCT Live to access over 80 channels. CCT Live. Bring it home.
1 month free trial turn into 5. 5 months turn into, well, you know I huff. I watching ball. I been watching football. Dad, Nickelodeon, Paw Patrol. I am hooked. Hook, I tell you.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. You served time, criminal time. I want to talk about that, because there are some persons who feel that because of that history, you should not perhaps be running for office. Before we get into that, what was the sentence for, and how long was your sentence?
Conflict of interest. I was sentenced to 9 months. I did 6 months based on good behavior, and that good behavior was predicated on teaching. At the prison, I taught accounts. I had 2 different classes, and 2 of my students ended up with grade 1s in accounts. And by the way, they were quote-unquote drug dealers, so they weren't sort of the misdemeanor kind of students and prisoners, I mean. And then I also started a prison ministry. I spent a lot of time reading a lot about God and Jesus and the whole Christian aspect of things. And as a result of that, I sort of found like an inner peace through that process. It took be some time to sort of reconcile with being incarcerated. But after a while, I had enough time there talking with God and realized I could use it constructively and not let it, overcome me or depress me. So I started teaching, and the students were receiving it. Worked out well. I was very proud of that. And the prison ministry went on, even in my departure. I kept it up for a while and stuff. So I made good out of bad.
Okay. When you hear persons, and I'm sure you heard it, they might not have said it to you, feeling as though you should not be on a ticket because of that. And particularly, I want to put into perspective the climate for which we're in. The Commission of Inquiry, good governance, corruption, and all the different attributes that you hear. What do you say to persons that feel as though Alan Wheatley should not be in this political race, specifically as a result of that one piece of his life's legacy and history?
Well, when you go to prison, the purpose is rehabilitation. And once a person is rehabilitated, the objective is for them to be integrated back into society, which is a challenge I wouldn't go into long on this on the interview. But I recently did an interview with a ex-con, Fishbone, and we spent some time, and I published it talking about what needs to be done in dealing with incarceration and post-incarceration. I said that to say that, once you go through a process, you learn. You reconcile. My thing was to reconcile with God. And I had time to do that when I was incarcerated. And I left all that in jail. I'm done with that. I've moved on in my life. I'm a professional. I'm hired by people all over the world. They trust me to conduct their business. I'm the former director, CDB. I'm a former advisor to the, what do you call it there now? The right vendor there at the bank, Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. I'm a former European authorizing officer, European Union Territorial Authorizing Officer here. So I have a lot of experience. I've also spent a lot of time dealing with FCO. I also was part of the lead team when these particular initiatives and challenges in the financial services came up. It was myself, Robert Matavius, Dancia Penn, and Michael Regals that were in and out of this country. Basically we kept our suitcases packed because on a moment's notice with some initiative, you had to catch the late flight getting out of here, or the first bounding flight out of here. And I spent time battling the EU initiative, the OECD initiative, the US initiatives. And we're all at the same time, simultaneously. Sometimes we'd be out there for 2-3 weeks, going from England to France, flying over to New York and going into Washington, dealing with the US, come back out, fly over, back to Europe. So I've done my time. I've been in Brussels, dealing with matters, been in The Hague, dealing with matters. I've ran a tour, in a sense, I guess you could say, of a lot of different things.
Would you consider this public office your final tour?
Oh yeah.
Your final hoorah?
Oh yeah. Professionally and in terms of public life, I am here to help.
Okay.
I made that very clear in the discussions that I had with the Premier. I have no interest in any ministry. I don't want to be tied up with any ministry. I would prefer to actually be a rover and move around from ministry to ministry where my colleagues and the civil servants need assistance. Use my experience to help you get through whatever challenges that you have. I want to keep a certain presence with the community, so I want to be able to spend half the day, let's say, in office, the other half in all the different communities, again, feeling what's going on, the things that need to be addressed, being able to bring it back. Because there's a difference between when information comes back from a politician and a trained civil servant than, let's say, a constituent and the like. Sometimes people have their ulterior motives.
Correct.
When they bring you information, whereas a person like myself would understand their motive, but also understand the capability of the government and be able to merge them and be able to say at that point in time, what advice I would give whichever minister or the premier, whoever, in terms of dealing with the situation, or a permanent secretary, doesn't matter.
I'm happy that you mentioned the premier and what you see a role in if and once elected, because within the past a few years and months particularly, the territory has undeniably been through quite a bit, and your voice has been one of the most vocal in regards to, and one would call it very critical of not only the 7th District representative, who is the chairman of the Virgin Islands Party, but just the handling of affairs in general. With all that being said, why did you choose to align yourself with essentially the very same government that you would have been highly critical of?
Well, I was critical of the United government, not necessarily
the unity government.
Unity government. Yeah, and it wasn't that I was critical of them. I was impressed with them. I was impressed with the fact that they could have put aside their differences, come together. An initiative that the UK sought for bad turned to good, because that was supposed to fail. We were supposed to stop there fighting so much that nothing constructive could come out of it, and it would fail. And then they would get the Constitution. It didn't happen according to plan. So I applaud them for undermining the plan of the UK and actually working together and being able to rectify a number of matters that needed to be rectified. Some had nothing to do with them, but they still had to deal with them. And I applauded my opponent, Mr. Penn, Honorable Penn. I also applauded Honorable Turnbull for taking on those positions and working collectively with the other ministers. I say that to say that I grew up in a house I had love, and I believe in objective criticism. So when you say I was hard on them, yes, I was hard on them when I saw things that needed to be done that weren't done, strategies that could be used weren't used. But when they did do things good, I complimented them. Some people used to call me a sellout whenever I did compliment them because they wanted that had against the government. That was never my role. I came there with eyes of the people to actually help. So in a lot of instances where things I thought should have gone a certain way and I put them out there, I got feedback from the premier down.
Would you have preferred them to lean on the strong professional background of, say, persons like yourself and others? Do you feel as though perhaps they weren't reaching out to the sources, the wealth of knowledge that they had in the BVI?
I think they were put in a precarious situation. They didn't know who to go to be honest with you. Everything was upside down. You don't know who will come into you, if they're legit or not. So I understood that. And that's why I wanted to qualify myself through the chat, that the things I was saying, the advice I was giving, that after a time we decided to realize I wasn't after them. I was actually trying to help them from a distance. So if I knew Caribbean leaders, when they stepped up for us, because of the relationship the UK still has with them, made a difference. Because until you become a republic, you're always affiliated with the UK. So from Jump Street, when those Caribbean leaders jumped up, the UK had to say, oh, I gotta watch myself here. And that's why I was also saying, hey, if you're so concerned about the COI and all the things, send help. Why are you asking the same people who you're critiquing in a system to change it based on some 3 sentences you put in a document? What does that do for implementation? Nothing. So it was a fallacy, it's a waste of time. Okay. If you were really serious about that, as far as I'm concerned, you should have sent UK officials who are trained, who supposedly would know what you're talking about, to walk along with the civil servants and make a difference. That wasn't done. So there the governor failed in my regard, because he is responsible for the civil service. And his approach I totally dislike, because his approach is leave us hanging and arrest whoever you could arrest. Why are you arresting the same civil servants you're responsible for? It's a failure on your end to arrest the people you're responsible for. You should be training them. You should be spending time trying to find solutions, not trying to find every single person that you think is guilty and arrest. How does that help us? You're not helping us. You're just bringing us down. If the UK really wanted to help us with the COI, you would send technical assistance, like they did in customs years ago when we had issues. Harkness and Stewart came here. I was a young officer in government, and they helped reform customs the way it is now. That's what the UK is capable of doing. That's what they've done in the past. This nonsense, what they're here doing, is ridiculous. If you really found issues with us, come and help us, not bring us further down. How does that help us? You understand what I'm saying? And that's where my issues come in. The governor has a much more substantive lead role to play in the implementation of the COI. So when he gets up with this 3-month report talking, what did you do to help make the reform possible, except criticize it? We don't need a criticism. We already went through that. There are persons out there, I spoke with Mead Malone the other day, there's system audits. There are persons like himself, former PS to the Chief Minister's office, former financial secretary as well, in terms of acting positions. He's been all the way up the chain, owns a substantive financial firm here. Bring those kind of people around and see how they could help with implementation of COI and those kind of things like that. So when you ask that question, what I'm saying in essence is yes, there are persons like me, myself, Robert Matavius, my father, Russell Harrigan, Bennett Smith. They come from all walks of life. In every single ministry, you have persons in this community that know more than any technical advisor coming from the UK, hands down. And one of the things I already made it clear, if I'm successful with this process, I'm going to look for all of those good gentlemen and ladies, Dan Penn, Lisa Penn. I'm going to look for all of them and say, look, we need help. We need help. Come in advisory capacities, whether pro bono or otherwise, and come and help me help these politicians, fellow politicians, get this thing right.
I'm
because
happy
we know to do it.
I'm happy that you mentioned the civil servants and the whole process of the COI. Do you think, in this particular instance of the Commission of Inquiry, the investigations, what have you, that civil servants did enough to defend the procedures that are already in place? Stay tuned for more Just for the Record right after this.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got here. My name is Kamal Haines. Most of you know me from 284 News, but now you get to see me in a different light on my very own show called Health is Wealth. We have Joel Turnbull.
I don't want you to arch your back when you're pulling down.
Milton McLean.
First of all, right, your footwork.
Stephen Payne.
That was a 9 out of 10. I know you got the service down pat.
Steve Augustine.
You did a pretty hard workout today, so perhaps...
And as you can see, it's actually
you're feeling it.
Alonzo Boynes.
Taekwondo.
Adam Murrows.
I'll speak as if you're an absolute beginner.
I am an absolute beginner.
You are an absolute beginner.
And Seth Graham.
It bites. It will bite.
Get your water, get your fruits and veggies, and experience a wealth of knowledge about getting healthy.
Today, I am doing cobble treatments with Beyond the Reef. Today, we are doing shark research. So today, we are doing whale research with Beyond the Reef. And wherever I go, I take CCT with me because my life is unlimited.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Do you think, in this particular instance of the Commission of Inquiry, the investigations, what have you, that civil servants did enough to defend the procedures that are already in place?
What I found, I briefly listened to it, is that they were ignorant to a lot of existing policies, procedures that are there. And I'm not sure why. Probably they just weren't indoctrinated enough. But I listened to some of them, and and my father listened to some of them. And he was sitting down one day, he was saying, "Oh, Man, in 1980 something, I wrote a policy on that. That is not correct. That's the kind of thing we were sitting down and saying, they're giving misinformation, but it's obvious they didn't know, because we could have refuted a lot of what the COI is talking about. The more the COI could have made reference to is that we weren't following the procedures, policies that were there, but they were there. And so therefore the issue is, why weren't they being followed? Go back, look at them, re-implement them, improve them, and let's move forward. But don't make it seem like we're some cowboy town just shooting from the hip, left, right, and center. That's not how the BVI run. If that was the case, this would have been resolved, a commission inquiry would have been here a long time ago. But over the years, a lot of political decisions have been made that were very detrimental to the civil service and how it runs. And it has a lot to do with politicians wanting to have more power. And that's dangerous. Politicians having too much power is very dangerous. The power needs to stay, when it comes to technical things, with civil servants. Politicians need to be politicians. Ministers need to bridge the gap between politicians and the civil service. A minister does not need to try to be a permanent secretary. And once they start that, the system crashes. And that's what happened. It crashed because those very same ministers don't know the very same policies and procedures, but they're making policy decisions left, right, and center. How are you going to make policy decisions on something you don't know, understand, or trained in? Half the ministers are not trained in the discipline that they're managing. So you should be an administrator, not a technical person. Like, for instance, I have a big pet peeve with the HSA reporting directly to the minister.
Okay.
It's the only, as far as I know, situation such as that. Every single statutory board reports to a permanent secretary who has a technical capability to advise that particular statutory board, and in turn advises the minister. You have non-medical ministers advising directly to the hospital. You think that can possibly work? How are you going to advise on something you don't know? You don't know. You think I'd want to be in there and be the minister of health talking to the director of HSA about a technical matter, and I am not afraid with the subject? I mean, I
Understood.
could probably squat around it. But anything I do in that cause, I want to be competent. I want to be versed. I don't want to be speculating, guessing, and sure, don't want to be making decisions on ignorance.
Speaking of one of your pet peeves, is there a piece of legislation that has taken place or been passed within the most recent administration that you do not agree with?
I am in the I call it the unity government or before?
Both the unity and the Foy administration.
Well, I wouldn't say I didn't agree with legislation. I have my concerns about how some of the legislation has come about, like for instance with the Procurement Act. You gave a perception like we didn't have structure before and it needed to be an act. When you look at that act is all made up of financial instructions, policies that were there from before I came the financial secretary, and ones that I put in place. All they do is package them up nicely and put them in an act. So what's the difference? You put it in an act, what's the difference? They were there, they weren't being followed. And that's where the problem came in. Making an act doesn't fix anything because you still won't follow the act. The issue comes down to getting ministers indoctrinated in the understanding of what their role is. Because there's a huge misconception of what a minister in government should do and what they should not do. And when given too much power and a minister, it's going to lead to a disaster, which is evident in some of the administrations gone, and even evident with the demise of Honorable Foy, in the sense that personally, he took too many of those statutory boards and all kind of other things under the Premier's office, bogged himself down with a whole bunch of stuff he didn't need to bog on, micromanage the whole situation. It must explode. It must explode, only a matter of time. And that is something now the current Premier, I mean, they undid a lot of that, so that's to his credit. But you want to leave things where they should be and managed properly. An airport is better served on the Ministry of Communication and Works. Ports, better served there. You're dealing with social security. Personally, it should be between the Ministry of Finance, or I would say a cross between the Labor Department areas as well as some of the health areas. But technically, because of the money, it always has been that the Financial Secretary sits on the board as a deputy chairman, and the other government official is either the Labor Commissioner or the Director of Health, for purposes of guiding those same areas. And that's how things are done. What I'm saying, Ron, is that there has been a structure that has worked for a lot of years. From time we had a ministerial government, it has been developed over years through Lavity, through Ralph, come down the line. But within the last 20 years, we have had some interesting decisions made in terms of how ministers operate. Like, for instance, I see no reason why the Minister of Finance has the power to surcharge. You kill the entire power of the Financial Secretary. When I was Financial Secretary, my job was to look over the finances, and the persons who weren't doing their job right, I had the power to surcharge, take your salary. But I didn't use it unnecessarily, and then your recourse was with the minister, so he could override anything that I did. You had due process. Now you have no process.
Correct.
And with the Minister of Finance, because he's a politician, who are you going to surcharge? Not a soul. Because not politically experienced. You understand what I'm saying? So the disciplining of the civil service is lost, because, again, you take the power from a technocrat who's competent to do that, put it in a minister, make it political, and the system crash. That's why everybody runs around here doing whatever they want, because the FS can't surcharge. You think half the shipments were going around here, the FS right now wouldn't want to rectify? But what can he do? He can't surcharge. The day he surcharged one officer, half their salary, the rest of them fall right in line. Because they know one thing. Once that signature is made, showtime.
Understood. I want to pay some attention to the 8th district, because that is where you're contesting. Going back to the beginning, we talked about being emotional, and you see stuff that bother you, and you use your voice, and you make sure that you do your best to try to rectify those issues. What are some of the issues in the 7th district that essentially bother Alan Wheatley that you'd like to address if elected?
Ryan, you just made my day in the interview.
Tell me why.
Because you made a mistake.
Tell me why.
7th, I'm not running the 7th, the 8th.
Okay, well, you're not running the 7th. You're running the 8th district. Being an Eastern man, you would agree that you guys are very close.
Oh, nice comeback. Nice comeback. I give you enough to that one.
Okay.
Okay, so
you're running in the 8th district.
Right.
What are some of the issues that really annoy you that you plan to address?
Let's start with, I would say, civil works. The 7th and 8th, I guess it comes back to that again, are the only districts that have sewage on the road. I've driven for all of Tortola, all of Anegada, Jocelyn Dyke, and Virgin Garda. There is absolutely no sewage on any road anywhere except the 7th and the 8th, because we have the masses of the populace in the BVI live in the 7th and the 8th. Combining the 7th and the 8th, there's no other district or district can compare in terms of votes and even population. Look at the taxis. You see every 10 minutes there's one going east end.
Yes.
Every 2-3 hours one go west end, because, again, the dynamics. So with that and the mass population, there is need to deal with the 7th and the 8th differently when it comes to things like sewage. Obviously, it's a matter of just various homes or apartments just have too much load, and sewage system, the septic tanks are being overloaded by laundry type water and that sort of stuff, as well as the proper waste. So in the absence of the system coming on stream, which we have a plan to put the Greenland and 7th District together, which are already piped up, and get the pump station there set up by the police station and the one down in Paraquita Bay active within the next 6 months. It's already out on tender. I don't know when the tender date is closing, but whenever that closes and rectified, those two will be put in place, and they'll be able to connect up all those homes that want to get on the system to that pumping station there in right across from the police station, there Fat Albert, and straight down to Paraquita to be reprocessed. And that would rectify a lot of the problems. And I could see that happening within a year's time. In the meantime, there are a lot of initiatives. The pump truck comes up regularly, trying to do the worst areas that need to be rectified. I've actually been given a bit of latitude to discuss with BioSafe, putting in all 2 or 3 private systems. And those systems, if everything goes according to plan, the persons will just simply pay back for those systems through their water bill, put on an extra $100 on that bill or whatever, and pay it over time. And all the persons I know that have these problems have agreed to such a plan, because they don't want to be in a situation where their particular home or apartment complex is contributing to the problem. However, sometimes sink are longer than twine. You just don't have the means to rectify the situation. So the government will come with a solution that they in turn can utilize to their benefit and to the benefit of the public. It's a win-win. So there's a short-term solution of those scenarios with the private septic systems to fix the worst areas, but the long-term is to get this Greenland area along with the 7 tied into that system and activated within a year's time. So I see no reason come, for instance, next tourist season, which would be give or take November, that tourists would have to drive through sewage, because you have tourists from the airport coming through. You have the crews going to Long Bay. You have the school children and all the other residents moving around in the area. A lot of people walk in that district. You'd be surprised the amount of people walk between the 7th and the 8th comfortably. You wouldn't even know the difference if you didn't know the gut was there. And it's nothing. But there's this sewage, and it needs to be rectified. So that's one thing. The roads after that could obviously be repaired, because right now, at that point, you wouldn't have the water. So that's another quick fix. In terms of I'll touch on 2 other things quickly. I have a number of projects that I'm doing, and I wouldn't touch on them now. It'll take a long time, but they come up to about somewhere in the vicinity about 150 to 200 million to be implemented over, I would say, somewhere between 4 to 7 years. So some of them may not even be finished in my tenure, but it'll be started. And they all encompass either outright private means of financing, or some quasi with government, or some direct with government. And they have to do with, like, for instance, the food complex at Red Bay, where it encompasses more than just the fishermen, but poultry, the red meat, the produce, the actual produce, green produce, fruits as well. And then purchase, we sell. So it'd be like a government supermarket, if you want to call it that. And that could be done turnkey within government resources, so government can build that easily, and then from the means from that, amortize back the money back to the central source. And that could be done very quickly, because it's not an elaborate or expensive operation. It's like the fisheries that we have, but 101, sped up, or 2.0, they call it, And then quickly I have Trellis Bay, looking at a facility there where you're going to have parking on the first floor, and the second floor we're going to look at a commercial operation vis-a-vis shops, looking at a food court, looking at even a swimming pool in that area, and a rec. So your kids, you can bring your kids, drop them, you're there, and you can do all of this shopping, you can eat, and then you could just simply go across the bay. You have the other restaurants, and easily connect all them all the way up to Loose Mongoose. You'll be able to walk straight. It'd be nice, a recreational, social area. I'm gonna get rid of the badges. Want to put them up at Bennington. So all that badge activity in that area will be gone. And it'll be a nice, area. So when the tourists come to go to these sister islands, like Oil Nut, Virgin Gorda, Mosquito, all those, what they encounter is a pleasurable experience as you land. Right now, we send a horrible picture of some tents they got there. I don't even want to talk about it. Half-painted benches. It's an insult. I personally think they should just take them up. They want to attempt to be an interim, but they actually carry the place lower because I don't see the sense in them. But that would be there to the economy. I have also further down in that area looking at around there by the police station area, give or take, looking at the possibility of a government building. I'm looking at a bank, and we're looking at a full-fledged mall in that particular area. And then up in Greenland, we have a lot of work that we want to do there with the whole facility in terms of sporting, a whole 5-tier building to facilitate swimming and badminton, tennis, the whole 9 yards, get the track by the soccer field sorted out. So you could have a first-class area where you can have sporting activities. So now we can start talking about sports tourism. And even before that, I have one group that is speaking to me about using the premises that I now occupy for my campaign headquarters, which I have to discuss with the landlord or owners, for the purpose of putting up a pool. And they're looking at trying to do that over the summer and teach kids how to swim. I don't know the dimension, but it's like a pretty sizable outdoor pool.
Okay.
And kids will be able to learn to swim. And I'm supporting that. As a matter of fact, I even told them if the current owners of the property don't accommodate it, I have property very close to that they can bring it and set it up, because I think that's laudable. That you could have a proper organized swim program to teach kids how to swim. Because we used to do it back in the day, your parents carried you out, but that ain't working right now. Nobody got the time. So, we got to help out.
Awesome.
And I got a lot of things after school program, and I just want to touch on the school for 10 seconds.
Stay tuned for more Just for the Record right after this.
Yo, everything good, Dad?
Aye. This thing got me one way, Daddy.
What do you mean?
Ever since I hook up with this thing, I can't eat, I can't sleep. This is the first thing I touch it when I reach home.
What do you really? Hey, this ain't like you,
Dad, this thing got me staying home, keeping out of trouble me.
Wow. What your name is?
Shit. I talking about my CCT life.
Don't worry about missing your favorite series, sports, news, and local programming. Come to CCT today and sign up for CCT Live to access over 80 channels. CCT Live. Bring it home.
1 month free trial turn into 5. 5 months turn into, well, I huff. I watching ball. I been watching football. Dad, Nickelodeon, Paw Patrol. I am hooked. Hook, I tell you.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us.
I just want to touch on the school for 10 seconds. A lot of things with the school I've been trying to work on with the school. I got the police to come back and deal with the crossing guard program. I got relocation of those bins for the waste, those recyclable bins, and so there's better parking drop off there now at the school. And I'm looking at after school program. I have been engaged. I'm a former scout.
Okay.
So I've engaged the Scouting Association. They've started scouting back in the central area here in town. And I'm hoping by summer We'll have scouting back in East End to help with the rehabilitation. Scenario where the young men especially can start to get better mentoring and deal with some of that. And last but not least, lunch program.
Okay.
I am very much in favor of a national lunch program. I'm discussing it currently with the Minister for Education. She's definitely on board with that. But what I plan to do before those things can come on board, actually Rotary is doing it at Altus Catliff, who transferred their stuff to Francis Letsom. I'm hoping that works out. I'm going to check on that, see how that's going. Maybe we could get that going for that school. But in Wheatley School, I've already made up my mind. Previous to even in politics, Phoenix Consulting was going to adopt that school. Delight in Touche did theirs the other day. I'm co-sponsoring with them. I'm signing up the documentation this week to be a co-sponsor. So I don't do politics. That's my alma mater. And I am also going to start with how the tuck shop used to be in high school, where you had those little tuna fish sandwiches, the ham sandwiches, chickens, that kind of stuff with some drinks, and start with that. So I'm going to introduce like a mini tuck shop, and the principles are amendable to that. And that would be like the start of that national program, and then see how it develops from there.
Understood. Now, in the final analysis on April 24th, the people of the territory, and by extension, the people of the 8th district will go to vote. You mentioned a lot about your plans, but in a nutshell, why should the people of the 8th district elect L. Allen Wheatley to the next House of Assembly to represent them?
You want someone who can rectify the existing problems, one, but even more importantly, we need vision. There is a need to understand where we're going as a people. We need plans as to how we're going to get there, and we need to be able to implement those plans. I'm very good at that. My 10 years FS and all the projects that I've done speaks to that. Hands down, I have accolades from the airport project that I spearheaded in conjunction with the Communication and Works Ministry, right down to the hospital that you see there. And everything encompassing in that area, roads, everything else, all were part of, for the most part, my time as FS, including, with the VIP government being in. And, accolades to my staff at the Ministry of Finance. I had a massive, awesome team that believed in a lot of what I saw as the way forward for the BVI. And in turn, the powers that be, Mr. O'Neill, believed in what I was trying to drive at, and my staff supported me. We're very successful. And I think we can bring a lot of that back. We just need a teamwork. We need a vision in place. We need once we know where we're going, we need the plans, implement them, and get the BVI ready for 2030. Because we were in front of Bermuda and the Caymans at one point. We were way in front of St. Kitts. How we get behind all of them now, God only knows. But
behind in what aspect?
Everything. Our economy was way better. We were going in a direction faster than them. As a matter of fact, when I was in the FS at Singapore, I was trying to catch Singapore.
Okay.
I set big targets. I know you're going to say this half ridiculous, but if you don't...
Ambitious.
Yeah, if you don't, and that's where the aggression comes in. But if you don't go after something like that, you get complacent.
Understood.
But if you're going for Singapore, and Singapore is like, was it possible to catch for the... You keep going, is what I'm saying.
Understood.
And that's what I would like to see the BVI come back to. And that's exactly why I'm here. I am interested in the Virgin Islands Party passing St. Kitts, passing Bermuda, passing Cayman, and setting a course to catch Singapore.
All right. I have some short questions for you. You could elaborate, or you could just tell me, if elected, whether or not you would support any of these legislations. The legalization or decriminalization of marijuana.
Well, I have no problem with marijuana usage in the context of it being legalized. Where I have a problem is with the usage of it with respect to like operating vehicles and that kind of thing. And so to me, if you're going to do it, it has to be regulated. In other words, you can't just say, okay, you're free to smoke marijuana any single way and then jump in your car. Nah, I ain't supporting that. But if you have areas designated where persons, maybe for medical reasons or otherwise, want to do that.
Dispensaries and what have you.
There you go. It's all organized. The U.S. has it going pretty good. And, you got Uber to carry you around.
To make sure that you
get home safely.
You get home safely.
Cool.
All right.
I have no problem with that. But then this thing about, you're up and down halfway, driving around, you can't even see the road good, especially at night. You're a hazard to people, you're a risk. No, I'm not going to support that. But if it's control, I have no problem.
All right. The legalization of, the legalization, or as some people call it, the same-sex marriage unions.
Okay. Well, that one is very controversial. I have to respect. We have a huge Christian community. I myself, my father's a local preacher. I grew up in the church. So I know about Sodom and Gomorrah from the time I was a kid and what's right, wrong, Adam, Eve, I'm going on all those stories. And you have to respect that is who we are as a Christian-based society. At the same token, the world is changing lightning speed. And a number of those type of initiatives are such that they're going to come anyway, because if you don't find a way to bridge it, the UK will use their reserve powers to put it in place, because they have to meet international standards. And that's one of the things, criteria that meet international standards. We don't operate in isolation of the region nor the international community. So we have to find a way to bridge a gap. So I know they have done, I think they call them civil partnerships,
yes,
or something like that, and I think in Bermuda and Cayman, and that's recognition of the association without the formal legal side of it, and it's like a happy compromise, and that's one way that's gonna happen here. I mean, you can spend around all day, talk what you want. If the government of the day doesn't move in some direction like that to bridge that gap, the UK will use their powers and either do that or something even greater. And the greater one, I think, will be one that a lot of people in this community will have a lot more difficulty with. So let's not let the UK make that decision for us. I think we need to sit down and understand what we need to do to satisfy our Christian base and faith, as well as the world that we live in.
Understood. The legalization of abortion.
Oh boy, you're coming at me hard here, man. With that, I'm not an advocate for that. But what I am an advocate for is some recognition of issues that persons go through, such as rape, situations where medically it's to the detriment of the child or the mother to carry the child to full term. And if we have to, yes, legalize it for the safety of persons in those situations, I say yes. If there's another way, like we just talked about, to bridge the situation, let's do that. Because again, we have a very Christian-based society. And these are some of the simple things that will rub a lot of people the wrong way. It certainly be grounds for certain people to be, not re-elected, put it that way, the next time around. But I'm a person of a generation that I think bridges between the young people and the older people. I'm on the tail end of where my father used to hear me playing reggae music and say, "Boy, what foolishness they're listening to." I can't even understand a word they're saying. To now it got some rappers, I can't understand what they're saying. I gotta ask my chair, what? So I reached a stage of my life, I'm like, how I get here? Where I can't understand. I'm being serious, you know. Some of the stuff, some of these rappers, they use, I gotta listen well.
Pay attention.
And try to decipher and sometimes what did I say? So I've come full circle. But like I said, I think my generation the generation of the 70s, the 80s, is that bridging generation that can help, even to maybe the 90s, that can help the 2023 going
And
forward
beyond, yeah.
generation, and somebody even the 2000 to 20 generation, and bridge that gap, because you gotta respect and deal with persons who've been before you, and you gotta respect who's coming on stream.
Understood.
And they clash a lot. So I'm running to be the buffer.
And this last one, I have to ask you your thoughts on the legalization of pari-mutuel betting.
But you know what? That's actually sort of even hypocritical in a sense, because the amount of gambling
that already
takes place in this country is ridiculous. I mean, I was going to buy gas last night. That guy was telling me, they say Thomas Lottery, telling me how much it is.
It already takes place.
Yeah, it's there all over the Puerto Rican Lottery. We have a couple of areas where we're now having some of that kind of pari-mutuel betting going on. And to what I've seen of some of the pari-mutuel betting abroad and here, if you do it right, it's no problem with it. But you got to put it in the right venues, put the right laws around it, structure it, and implement it the right way. And it can be done constructively again. We have a Christian-based society. We have to respect their views and the like. By the same token, the world is changing. So we got to bridge it.
All right. What is your favorite Virgin Islands cuisine?
Let's see. I can tell you, I'm a fish man, so I can tell you somewhere between fish and foil, and in that they have to be packed with potatoes, or fried fish and Johnny cake.
Okay. All right. Do you have a favorite sister island?
No.
You do not have a favorite sister island. Okay.
I'm from Antigua. I'm from South Island.
So you're just not going to choose?
I can't choose.
Okay, fair enough.
Some of my family can say, oh, really?
Understandable.
So I played not the fifth, the five.
Okay, understood. Do you have a favorite Virgin Islands rum or drink?
Oh, yeah, man. The Carwood rum.
Carwood, you mean the panty dropper?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's what that's the name of the drink. That's what it's called. That's what's on the bottle.
That's what your young people drink.
It sounds like the same one you're talking about.
I know it as a shot, and you chase it.
So you're pleading a fifth again on not calling it the correct name. No problem at all. Carwood Rum Distillery.
Yeah.
If you could take someone from VI yesteryear, and that simply means that they're no longer with us. If you could take anyone to lunch or dinner, who would that person be and why?
I'd have a double date.
Okay.
I'll take Honorable Ralph T. O'Neill and Homage.
Brilliant. Do you have a favorite politician?
Current, past, or different?
Yeah. Or present?
Yeah, but I want to take a triple date on that one. I respect the visionary leadership of Mr. Stout. I admire the strength and courage of Ralph T. O'Neill, and I admire the wisdom and intellect of C.B. Rumley.
All right. Mr. Wheatley, first of all, thank you for the conversation. And by extension, thank you for exercising your democratic right in seeking a higher office within this general elections. Thank you.
And I would like to thank you for helping me win the 8th district.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Just for the record, we were joined by the man himself, L. Allen Wheatley, who is contesting the 8th district in the upcoming general elections under the Virgin Islands Party umbrella. I'm Ron Grant. You've been watching 284 Media.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got here. My name is Kamal Haines. Most of you know me from 284 News, but now you get to see me in a different light on my very own show called Health is Wealth. We have Joel Turnbull.
I don't want you to arch your back when you're pulling down.
Milton McLean.
First of all, right, your footwork.
Stephen Payne.
That was a 9 out of 10. I know you got the service down pat.
Steve Augustine.
You did a pretty hard workout today, so perhaps...
And as you can see, it's actually
you're
impacting
feeling it.
Alonzo Boynes.
Taekwondo.
Adam Murrows.
I'll speak as if you're an absolute beginner.
I am an absolute beginner.
You are an absolute beginner.
And Seth Graham.
It bites.
It will,
Everything
Get your water, get your fruits and veggies, and experience a wealth of knowledge about getting healthy.